It happens more often than most cruise passengers realize. Somewhere in the darkness of the open ocean, a passenger vanishes. No body, no witnesses, sometimes not even a clear explanation. Every year, millions of people board cruise ships expecting a dream vacation. They think about sunsets, buffets, tropical islands, and endless blue horizons. What they rarely think about is how quickly someone can disappear at sea, and once a person goes overboard, especially at night, the odds of survival become terrifyingly small. Cruise lines often describe these incidents as tragic accidents, a fall, a moment of recklessness, a simple mistake. But for some families, the official explanations never seem to match the evidence. Tonight, we're examining three disturbing cases that continue to raise questions years later. A honeymoon that turned macabre, a passenger who vanished while an entire ship carried on as normal, and a modern overboard case captured on camera, yet still surrounded by unanswered questions. Because when someone disappears in the middle of the ocean, the water is not the only thing that can hide the truth. Case 1. George Allen Smith. In July 2005, George Allen Smith and his new wife Jennifer Hagel boarded Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas for a Mediterranean honeymoon. George was only 26 years old, newly married, successful, with his entire future ahead of him. Just days later, he disappeared. The evening began like many cruise vacations: drinking, celebrations, casino visits, and late-night socializing. Witnesses later reported that George and Jennifer had argued during the night. Jennifer eventually became so intoxicated that crew members reportedly helped her back to the cabin. What happened next remains one of the most controversial cruise ship mysteries ever investigated. Passengers near the cabin later reported hearing shouting, furniture moving, and signs of a disturbance. Several men who had been drinking with George were allegedly seen leaving the suite shortly before dawn. The next morning, another passenger noticed something shocking. A large bloodstain had been smeared across a lifeboat canopy directly below George's balcony. George Allen Smith was gone. His body has never been recovered. Investigators later confirmed that blood found on the canopy belonged to George. Additional blood evidence was reportedly found inside the cabin. The FBI launched an investigation. Attention eventually focused on several men who had been among the last people seen with him. Years later, one of those men was secretly recorded making a statement that reignited public suspicion. "I know George Allen Smith did not disappear or kill himself or hurt himself or slip and fall. Something crazy went down that night." Despite years of investigation, authorities never gathered enough evidence to prove murder. The official case was eventually closed, but for George's family, the questions never disappeared. Nearly 2 decades later, nobody can say with certainty what happened in that cabin during the case. 2. The disappearance of Merrian Carver. If George Smith's case is mysterious, Merrian Carver's case is disturbing for an entirely different reason. In August 2004, 40-year-old Merrian Carver boarded Celebrity Cruises' Mercury for a 7-day Alaska voyage. She was traveling alone. Her family considered that completely normal. She boarded the ship in Seattle and was briefly seen by crew members during the first days of the voyage. Then she seemingly vanished. What happened afterward would eventually become the center of national attention. For several consecutive days, Merrian's cabin steward reportedly noticed something unusual. Her bed remained untouched. Her belongings stayed exactly where they had been. Nobody appeared to be using the cabin. The steward repeatedly reported the situation, yet no ship-wide search was initiated. No urgent alarm was raised. The voyage continued. When the cruise ended, Merrian never disembarked. According to later reports, her belongings were collected and removed. Her family was never contacted. Authorities were not immediately notified. Instead, weeks passed before her concerned family reported her missing. By then, valuable evidence had disappeared. Security recordings from the voyage had already been overwritten through routine procedures. The opportunity to reconstruct what happened had largely vanished. Merrian's father, Kendall Carver, spent years fighting for answers. His search eventually transformed into a campaign for cruise ship safety reform. That effort became one of the driving forces behind the Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act of 2010. Today, Merrian Carver's disappearance remains unsolved. Nobody knows exactly where she went. Nobody knows when she vanished. And nobody knows whether her disappearance could have been prevented. Case 3, The Wonder of the Seas. Our final case brings us into the era of advanced surveillance technology. In August 2022, a passenger aboard Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas disappeared during an overnight voyage. Unlike the previous cases, there was reportedly video footage. Security cameras captured the moment the passenger went overboard. At first glance, that should have answered everything, but it didn't. The footage reportedly showed what happened. It could not explain why it happened. What led the passenger to that location? What was happening in the hours before the incident? Was anyone else involved? The questions remained. The crew launched a search operation. For hours, rescue teams scanned the darkness off the coast of Cuba. Searchlights swept across the waves. Ships altered course. Aircraft assisted. But the ocean offered no answers. The passenger was never found. This case highlights an uncomfortable reality about modern maritime investigations. Technology can document an event. It cannot always explain it. A camera may capture the final seconds, but it cannot reveal every decision, conversation, or circumstance that led to that moment. And for families searching for closure, that distinction matters. Conclusion: 3 people, 3 cruise ships, 3 disappearances separated by years, yet each case leaves behind the same unsettling question. What really happened? The cruise industry has changed significantly since many of these incidents occurred. New laws have strengthened safety requirements, surveillance systems have improved, reporting standards have become stricter. But even today, the ocean remains one of the most challenging environments on Earth for investigators. When someone disappears at sea, evidence can vanish within minutes. Witnesses may be thousands of miles from shore, and answers can remain out of reach forever. For the families of George Allen Smith, Merrian Carver, and countless others, the search for those answers continues. Because behind every overboard statistic is a real person, a real family, and a story that may never be fully told. What do you believe happened in these cases? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. And if you enjoy maritime mysteries, ocean survival stories, and the hidden realities of life at sea, subscribe to Bluewater Arc and join us on the next voyage. Because beyond every horizon lies another story waiting to be uncovered.